major trophy. Let's take a look, though, at what Henry said here. Let's take a look. Listen.
What do you think of the current Arsenal situation of sort of 6 years now, 5-6 years without a trophy, but they're building and they're sort of getting better each time?
That's a tall building now. The building is tall. There's a lot of the building is really tall. It's, you know, that's big. So I always talk to Wrighty about it. Look, I'm not going to pretend I'm an Arsenal fan more than him or a guy that was born and raised as an Arsenal fan. But I understand. At the very beginning, you arrive. And by the way, we won the Cup 2020. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. 3 years, and Roy can tell you, you also coach. You're in a situation at the beginning where it's not your team. You need at the very least 3 to 4 transfer windows to be able to change everything that you want to change. Get rid of the guys that are on a good contract, that don't want to leave, that maybe don't like the way you play or you don't like the way they play. So it takes time. Whether we finish 8th, we were not great. You have to give a manager time to be able to implement what he wants to do. So 3 years. Now, the last 3 years, we've been in a situation, Arsenal, where we should at least bring a cup, whatever it is, or a final. Man United played 5 finals in their last 5 years. The United that everyone loves at played 5 finals. In the last 3 years of building that building, you didn't reach a final. So I do understand when people ask the question, surely you should have compete for a trophy, being in the final. Or this year we didn't compete with Liverpool. I don't know what people think, but we didn't compete, not once.
Again, I don't. Do you know what's really interesting about that? This is what I mean, though, about it being about clubs. I'm seeing United fans in my chat right now going, he's speaking facts. These are the same Man United fans who won't give Amorim 3 to 4 years. So is he speaking facts? Or are you picking and choosing what parts to pull on to attack a rival? That's the only thing I'm going to say about that, because I agree with everything Henry has said. It's why I turned around and said before, the Arteta outers can claim all they want. They were right. They weren't, because Henry's on my side. No, Henry is not saying the same thing as you. He understands that they needed a rebuild and you should have had patience in that time. Now is the time to have less patience because it's been built. The money has been spent. Teams like Man United, teams like Spurs, teams like Palace, teams like Newcastle are starting to get to finals and win trophies, and Arsenal are not. And if people watch my match reactions, if people look at what I've said about Arsenal, 2 seasons running, you've got to judge Arteta now on winning those trophies. You compartmentalize the rebuild and making them competitive and getting them back to a very good standard in the league. That absolutely exists. The other part of the conversation we've had, though, and I do think it's a good conversation, is just winning a trophy. Now, we take the Arteta outers as a demographic of people. Some of them will go, if he wins me a Carabao Cup, I'll get off his back. He's a winner. I'll accept it. And that's fair. At least they're being consistent. There'll be others that will go, but 1 Carabao Cup in 5 years, that ain't enough. But they're the same people that say trophies are all that matter. No, they don't. Because I don't think most Arsenal fans just want an FA Cup. Carabao. If they come 10th next year and win an FA Cup, most Arsenal fans will still be calling, I think, for Arteta to go, which proves that just winning trophies isn't enough. You can't remove the context of where you sit in the pyramid of football. And I think it's really important that we as football fans.
How about the other side of the context? Hold on. 5 years.
Can I just listen? You spoke about this. I just wanted to say something here. Because it's Thierry Henry that said that, people are saying, yeah, he's speaking facts. Thierry Henry said something that everyone thinks, everyone in football, regardless if you're a Man United fan, Liverpool, Man City, anybody. He didn't say something out of the ordinary. He didn't say something edgy, to be honest with Thierry Henry. He said that I want to see you reach cup finals and everything. Actually, I'm going to take it a step further. While you're rebuilding, I want to see you winning a cup here and there. I want to maybe see you go to a Champions League final or something. He didn't say anything edgy here for us to say, oh, wow, he's speaking facts. He said something, to be honest with you, if Henry wants to actually say the truth, he should come out and say, I think Arteta has failed, or he thinks he should be given more time. But he doesn't want to say that because he doesn't want to take the heat from people. It's either you sit and tell me, I don't think Arteta is going to win trophies because I think he failed to reach finals, and he failed to do this, or you tell me that Arteta is a great coach, and I believe that Arsenal will get places. But he sat on the fence. He's like, yeah, you should be winning trophies here and there. Don't sit on the fence. Do you think Arteta's doing a good job at Arsenal by building this? Do you think Arsenal fans, you are a legend of this football club. You won the league title twice with them. Tell me, sit on these shows and tell me, guys, listen to me. I think Arteta's a good coach. Yes, he has failed in winning trophies, but believe in the coach. Or you sit here and tell me he has failed to reach a final. I don't think he reaches somewhere. But sitting on the fence, we can all sit on the fucking fence. We can all sit here and do utopia. Amarim, 3 years he's building. He should be winning cups.
I don't think he's sat on the fence.
No, he definitely, because bro, what Henry said, a lot of Arsenal fans, with the most positive Arsenal fans, have said on every show for the last 2 years. He hasn't said anything. They said, yes, we won a trophy here and there, and he hasn't won us a trophy, but we believe in the building and all of this. It's exactly what he said. Literally what he said. Why he sat on the fence? But because of Thierry Henry, everything is, oh yeah, Thierry Henry spoke facts. Think about what I said. He didn't tell us if he thinks Arteta is a good coach or not. Hossam, on Football Terrace, on Don Hossam, sits there and say, I have no faith in Arteta winning Arsenal a trophy. That is a guy who sits here and says his opinion straightforward. Does Thierry Henry have something like we don't know about? Does he not know something that we don't know about? Is someone telling him not to say this stuff? No, I don't know. Because if Hossam can say it, Terry, for example, on his channel, said many times, I believe Arteta is a good coach. I believe he's building something. I believe Arsenal will win something with Arteta. There are people that said and say stuff. There are people like Lee, for example, who thinks straightforward, I don't think Arteta is a good coach. I don't think we're going to reach somewhere with Arteta. There are other fans as well. Thierry Henry hasn't said anything, to be honest with you. He has, you know what? He has portrayed the utopia that Terry talked about. Amarim building for 3 years, winning an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup. That's utopia. And then you challenge for the league after. That's utopia, right? Everyone would swap their team for that, right? But he didn't tell me anything, with all due respect to him. Thierry Henry, legend and everything. He sat there and just sat on the fence, with all due respect to him. If people want, oh, my king, my Henry, fine. I sat on the fence. He didn't back your manager, nor bash your manager. He didn't tell you he's a good manager or no. He didn't.
Yeah, but that's what you criticize with people all the time. You say football is not black and white. You say there's a gray area. You say this, you say that. So if you think that there's a gray area,
he didn't even say the gray area.
Then he's pointing it on.
He didn't say the gray area.
Okay, here's the thing. Thierry Henry actually did state an opinion. He said the problem is over the last 3 years that you haven't even gotten to a final and haven't even brought home a cup. That's an objective statement right there that is not sitting on the fence. He said, you have not brought home a cup, you have not got to a final, which is the truth in both cases. And at the same time,
that's not an opinion. That's
a fact. Yeah, it's a fact. And at the same time, you have not won the Premier League. So you're saying he has not brought a fact.
Anybody, they could have brought a kid from the street who would have stated the same fact.
Yes. What I would say is this: I've only seen the clip, I haven't watched the show. What was the context? Why did that come up as a conversation? Was he asked the question, do you think Arteta is good enough? Or were they talking about giving managers time? Like, what was the context of the conversation?
I didn't watch the show. I just watched the clip.
I didn't watch the show. I just saw the clip.
I watched the clip with you.
Anyway, the clip doesn't need context because he's saying his opinion on Arteta at the end of the day, which I agree with as well.
It made it a little, but listen, I get where you're coming from as well, though, Mo. And I think, no one person, though, has been right about Arteta. Every person has got some bits right and some bits wrong. And I mean that. So some will say, I said he'd never win the Prem. Yeah, but you also said he'd never get into the Champions League, never mount a title charge, and never win a trophy. And he has done those things. Some have said, guarantee you within 2 years he wins the Prem. 5 years later, he hasn't done it. But you did say also that he'd get into the Champions League and make you compete for a league title. That the issue with the Arteta conversation is a lot of people want to claim they were right. And they want to ignore all the L's they've taken along the way. It's a very hard conversation to have. For instance, when I said they were scary 3 years ago nearly, all I said is they become title contenders. The amount of time I get thrown at me, you said they'd win the league by now. The only time I thought they'd win the league is when they got 5-6 points clear in that first season. Last 2 campaigns, I haven't predicted them to win the league. And I'm telling you now, as far as what we've seen so far, they are not my pick to win the league next year either. So to put that out there very early, it's Liverpool.
Same here. But people in the chat are like, oh, Mo, why you're... He stated facts. I agree with him. Arsenal should have won a cup here and there. And I stated that.
Mr. Mo, I'll ask you a very simple question.
Yes.
Tomorrow, Arsenal announce Antonio Conte. Are they going to win the league next year?
I think that increased their chances of winning the league than Arteta.
Yeah, if
So
Antonio
there is a
Conte,
possibility to increase
I
your
can't
chance.
guarantee. Nobody guarantees the league.
I can't
It's very
guarantee you if we sign Verts, Isak, Rodrigo that we win the
Exactly.
league.
Yeah,
No, no.
But you asked me a straight question. I answered you. Do you believe is there a better manager that joined Arsenal tomorrow? Arsenal will have a bigger chance. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Well,
I agree with
that's-
that.
with Antonio Conte, I'll answer it directly. If Antonio Conte joined Arsenal tomorrow, they could. No, I mean only more than they could. They'd have an amazing chance of winning the league. I wouldn't say outright favourites because Pep and
agree.
City and Liverpool are here.
Yeah.
They'd have an amazing chance. Say they won the league, though. What I would say is this: there's also the possibility that a year or two afterwards, they're in a bit of turmoil again. So,
Yeah.
and he leaves. So this is the thing with, again, I said just winning a trophy is important. Again, if we paint hypotheticals for people to make them choose. Antonio Conte can join now and you win the league, but he leaves you in 18 months after that and you're in a bit of a mess and you don't know how long the recovery time is going to be. Do you take that risk to win a league title? Or do you want a closer guarantee to stability? That's the issue with a lot of these
Antonio
conversations.
Conte. I would take Antonio Conte if I'm an Arsenal fan.
I would.
Same.
If
You know-
my club was.
You know why?
If
Arteta has won. I'm gonna answer you. If Arteta has won a league title before with Arsenal and he hasn't won it for 4 years, at that time he has proven that he can win a title before. At the current moment, maybe this journey will not end with a title. But if you're telling me that there is a higher probability of a manager that wins Arsenal league title.
And this is why it's always worth to have the conversation and be fair. Some people in the comments right now are saying, no, I wouldn't take the turmoil. Others are saying it's worth the turmoil. For me, I would look at it, and if my club was in Arsenal's position and go, I would risk the potential turmoil, knowing that another manager could probably come in and restabilize it really quickly if we've got a team that's capable of winning titles. For instance, Conte gets a lot of praise for what he did at Chelsea and what he did at Napoli, and he deserves it. Fantastic job. But he did take over two teams that only the season before were champions of their country. It's not like he took over a team. So I think Antonio Conte taking over in 2020 would not have done with Arsenal what he did with Chelsea and Napoli respectively, because the squads are very different. I think he's fantastic at taking over teams that are in and around it. Might have had a little bad period and they need an arm around the shoulder and need someone to make them feel $1 million.
Arsenal are in and around it. But Arsenal are already in and around
it. Exactly my point, which is why I think if he went into Arsenal now, if I was an Arsenal fan and someone said, would you take Conte now to win the league? I would personally say yes. At the risk of it going funny in an 18 months, 2 years time, I would take the risk because I think if Antonio came in now, there's a massive chance with the way Arsenal play football that he could get you over the line and win you that league title. There's a massive chance that
Saliba and Gabriel and Timber, Calafiori, Miles Kelly. My man is breaking the Jose Mourinho record.
He might be the one to break the Jose Mourinho defensive record. He could. But this is the thing. It's always worth a conversation. And my problem with a lot of the Arteta in and Arteta outers is there's no longer a dialogue. It's either just bring me anybody, he's shit, anyone will make us win. I think it's crazy conversation. Or there's no one better, there's no point talking about it. I don't like either of those conversations. I think they're bad for
my man Max yesterday said I'll take Glasner over Arteta because he has won with Crystal Palace, the FA Cup. And I'm like, what bro? And he has won the Europa. He won the Europa League. Shout out Max. He won the Europa League with Frankfurt. And I'm like, sometimes you just have to think about it objectively. Will Glasner make Arsenal better than what Arteta is doing now? The answer is most likely no. So you don't do that.
Since you like putting people into two strict categories, well, I'm not putting people into two strict categories. I'm talking about two groups of people that have placed themselves in very polarized strict categories. I'm talking about the staunch Arteta-inners who always move the goalposts, never want to blame him. And the Arteta outers, no matter what happens, they blame him. So that isn't me putting them in that category. It's quite literally what they do. It's not me. And says they are
also the
wrong.
fans in the chat that are complaining about this. Thierry Henry is the one who started this, not the football terrace.
Well, but equally though, but they are both objectively wrong. Overarching, it's like this. Sam did not get his prediction on Man United Spurs last week correct because he predicted a pumping and a 3-1 defeat. It wasn't a pumping. So the point is he got the result right, but his prediction of how the game would go and how we would lose was wrong. He was more wrong than he was right in terms of his prediction of the game. The result went correct. If he said Spurs are going to sit in and stink the gaff out, United are just going to be too crap to score, watch, then it would have been spot on. You're not right just because the result goes. If Mo tonight goes, I think it's going to be a narrow 2-1 Chelsea win, and the game's a narrow 1-1 draw, but Hassan predicts 5-0 Chelsea, right? Hassan, and it goes one. No, sorry, I fucked that example up. If Mo predicted a close 2-1 win for Chelsea and it ends up in a 1-1 draw, Mo is nearer to being correct than people that predict a high-scoring 5-5 draw, even though the results are draw still because the game was close. And this is my point when it comes to the footballing conversation. People are really intellectually dishonest a lot of the time. They're like, oh, you're going to lose because your striker.
Told you his stance, though. He's saying, I think Arteta did a quite good job and took Arsenal fans as far as he can. Now I'm Arteta out. Which category am I now in?
You're in neither of those categories. I don't put you into those. You're not one of those polarized people. There's loads of gooners that come on the terrace, that super chat the terrace, who have gone from being supporters of him staunchly in the last year going, I back him, I'm really excited about what we're doing, to I think it's time for him to go. They're not in either of these polarized categories of people. You're not in either. You know,
I'm in the same category as the super chatter. I said for the last 2 years that I think Arsenal are going to win the league, and I backed them, and I believed in them from the outside, and I did think that they're going to do it. But third year, you didn't do it. I'm sorry. Now I just think he's not good enough and needs to be changed. That's just my honest opinion.
But you wouldn't change him for anyone, right? Like, it has to be someone better.
No, but here's the thing.
Let me put the context. Before you answer, let me just give you why I'm saying this. Because some people that we know and we talk to say, just change, regardless, just give me someone to try with. Right.
Okay, I'll say this just quickly. Slot is a downgrade on Klopp. Slot won the league. Now, should Arsenal try to get someone who's better than Arteta? 100%. But if they do their scouting and they find out someone that they believe can take them over the line, like someone who won a league title at like Feyenoord or Alkmaar, or like not a traditional, not an Ajax, not a blah blah blah, Napoli, Conte. Apparently there's already problems with the board, because you know how Conte does in the summer when he doesn't get what he wants.
He's leaving already.
He's leaving already. So that's the thing. Simeone and Zaghi, that's an upgrade. There's many examples. So there's people. By the way, Xavi Hernandez gave Kubarsi his debut and Yamal his debut, and won when Barcelona had to pull levers to make signings with a bunch of kids against the Madrid super team. That's a prime example right there.
Also, if Slot goes back to back, you could argue he's an upgrade on Klopp. Just putting that out there as well.